Okay, welcome. Here we are on the first of my weekday vineyard rambles. And I thought I'd start off in one of my favourite vineyards, although it's quite difficult to have favourites. This is my first Fitou vineyard that I purchased back in 2010. So for me, it's a memorable vineyard. And I just thought we could just stand here at the top of it. We're at about 250 metres up. I thought we could just stand and have a look and just look at the view. And here you can see in the distance, it's a lovely morning actually. It's about 15 degrees. You can see the clouds in the distance and the sun just hiding behind them. Behind those hills, that's the Mediterranean. So the Mediterranean's about an hour away in the car down there. And if you just scan round, behind there would be Perpignan, again about an hour away. But we're in this lovely, my favourite little Fitou vineyard that I have. And I just thought it would be nice just to take you with me. I normally do this in the morning anyway. And I just thought, well, why not? Why not bring you with me? And I can show you the different grapes. I can talk about the soil and I can talk about the scenery. Please, just fire away with any questions. And but I thought I'd start actually in the hedgerow. I mean, look at this. Look at that. I mean, who needs a garden? Who needs a garden when you've got these lovely flowers? I've got no idea what they are. So if anybody out there is a gardener or can recognise, I suppose they're weeds, but just such lovely weeds. And those ones, I don't know what they might be rock roses, I think. And then behind that, going up there as well, I'd be interested to know what those are too. And then, can you see that? So this is actually an electric fence. Nikki, if you're watching, watch out. That's actually, it's not turned on at the moment, but this is an electric fence. And it's actually to keep out the wild boar. Okay, so as you can see, we're up here, sort of a bit cut off from everything. And it's prime wild boar territory. So the wild boar love this vineyard. It used to be on their trail from here, down the hillside, over the wall. You can see actually where they used to come in there. And then they would trundle on down, the wild boar, and go through my vineyard. This is my vineyard here. So they go down here. And locally, this vineyard, now this isn't very nice, but locally, my vineyard here, my little vineyard, was known as the wild boar toilet in Catalan, or in Occitan actually, not Catalan, because this is where the wild boar, there were so many of them, used to trundle through. Obviously wild boar, a real nightmare for the grapes, eating the grapes, and just general turfing up the soil. They're a real nightmare for us. So that's why we have the electric fence. But anyway, coming down into the vineyard, it's a lovely morning. I've got the sun on my face. It's just starting to get hot. Hi everybody, so great for you to all join in just my little ramble around the vineyard. So these are my weekly morning rambles through the vineyards, just taking a look at the hedgerows. So some more flowers here and down here. Yeah, that's the one that it's almost the vineyard that my friend Nikki touched the alive electric fence and got a bit electrocuted on it. Bit of a shock. So here we are. Now this vineyard is known as the Roch vineyard because that's the lieu-dit. So it's actually known in an area called Roch. We're about 10 minutes outside of the village of Tuchan. Interesting, not just because it was my first Fitou vineyard that I bought, and we actually got a gold medal at the International Wine Challenge for the wine we made from it, but this is actually a great mixture of grapes. So on this side, you can see we've got old bush vines, or gobelet vines. The vines are Carignan and Grenache. And you can see old vines, zoom in on one of them here, and they're actually planted as a mixture. So old Carignan Grenache vineyards. This is a Carignan vine, so you can see the leaves quite well developed already. A little bit of moisture on them this morning as well. Carignan because we've got 5 lobes on the leaf, and it's also embossed. And then here you can see it's a tiny vineyard. There's about 2,000 vines in here, and in the first year we made about 1,200 bottles. So here we have the Carignan and the Grenache. It is a lovely morning routine, and you can hear the birds as well. I know it's just so peaceful up here. It's just absolutely, it's gorgeous, and it's a great way to start the day. If you need some Monday motivation, just keep watching. So as I said, the Mediterranean behind those hills, about an hour away, and we're here in my Roch vineyard. So we've seen the Carignan and the Grenache, which are co-planted on this side. These vines are 110 years old. So this is one of my oldest vineyards up here. Really old vines, producing very, very... There you go, Matty. Just got the question, how old are the vines? So here, 110. So the Carignan and the Grenache. But then if we just ramble over here, I can ramble about these. You can see up here that these vines are different. They're actually trained on wires. So this part of the vineyard is it's a different grape. It's Syrah. So we've just got a little patch of Syrah which has been trained on wires. So we always train our Syrah on wires, otherwise it tends to sprawl. But you can see here they look a little further behind, not quite as developed as the other ones. They've still got leaves, but smaller leaves on them, and they're trained here onto the wires. And these Syrah vines are a little bit younger. These are about 40 years old. So these were planted a little bit later, and they're just like in the corner of the vineyard. But when I bought this vineyard back in 2010, that was fantastic because I've actually got 3 grape varieties. So I've got Carignan and Grenache as the bush vines over here, and then I've got Syrah on the wires here, and that means that I'm actually allowed to produce Fitou. So this vineyard is actually on the Fitou map that was drawn up in 1948 for the appellation, really old appellation, 1948, and this vineyard would have been plotted on there, and I would have been allowed, not that I was around in 1948, but it would have been from 1948 allowed to produce the appellation wine Fitou. So I bought this vineyard in 2010 with the idea of producing my first ever Fitou. So my first ever Domaine Jones Fitou came from this vineyard. And because we've got the 3 grape varieties in here, it allowed us to do the blend, the Fitou blend. So we have Carignan and Grenache and Syrah in the blend. And we made 1,200 bottles in that first year. Just look at that view. Fab Fitou. I'm glad you like it, Nikki. Helen, thanks so much. Helen, that's so much of your inspiration to get me to do these walks in the vineyard. So I'm going to be doing vineyard rambles every weekday this week. So I'm going to take you into a different vineyard every day, Monday to Friday. It's at 8:30 my time, 7:30 UK time. It's a little bit early, but to be honest, it's the best time of the day to get out here. You know, dawn, well, it's a bit past dawn, but it's lovely early morning sun. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And here we are, I'm just showing you the view, and we'll walk slowly. Oops. Actually, it's quite difficult to walk. You can see it's been ploughed. So an organic vineyard, and we plough the soils, which is great. They look really healthy. If anybody's into soils, have a quick zoom on the soil here. So it's quite heavy clay. We've had quite a bit of rain. So it is quite heavy clay at the moment, and then it's got sort of limestone pebbles or stones in it. So it's a mixture of limestone and clay. And here you can see the old Carignan and Grenache vines. And then we've also planted some little ones where because they're so old, our vines, occasionally one will sort of just die off. So we do replacements in between. So this is a little tiny, this is actually a Grenache, tiny little Grenache that we planted last year. So zoom around, you can see just lovely skies today. Fortunately it's actually stopped raining, we've had lots of heavy rain. And then just come down here, and I wanted to show you something else down here. So please fire away any questions you have. It's just you and me in the vineyard, so you can tell me anything, you can ask anything. You can see my little car down there. Carignan Grenache on this side of the vineyard, and if we now look back up the vineyard, Carignan Grenache there, the Tuchan mountain behind, and on this side we have Syrah. So we have the 3 grape varieties to be able to make Fitou. So this is my first ever Fitou vineyard that I bought in 2010, Carignan Grenache and Syrah. And then just to show you exactly how stony it is here as well, it's quite difficult to actually walk on the ploughed soil, so it's ploughed and you can see the stones. And just imagine being on a tractor and ploughing out here. It's not nice and flat and easy going. It's very, very bumpy. But there's a little pile of stones here. We'll just come around here. So when I first bought the vineyard, actually you can see the wild boar have been turfing up the soil here. So I don't know how they've got in actually, because we've got a fence around. That's quite... They get through anything. The fence isn't on at the moment, but that definitely looks like wild boar trouble there. And then here to the pile of stones. So this is just a pile of rocks in the middle of the vineyard. When I first bought it, it was all sort of grown over and you could hardly see it. And I thought, oh great, it's a little hut that we can sit in. But it's not a hut at all. It's literally just a pile of stones bang in the middle of the vineyard. And those stones, you can see here, would have come out of my vineyard. So as they cleared the vineyard to plant the vines, then they would have just put the stones from it in the middle of the vineyard. So you can see here it doesn't actually serve a purpose, although we could have it as another project to build a little hut from the stones. Does anybody fancy a little project? But you can see just the stones here, the amount of stones that there are, and all of these would have come out of the vineyard. Nobody bought these to put them there. So looking at that lovely view again, we're at about 250, 300 metres above sea level. It's a glorious day. Anybody needs a bit of Monday motivation, I think this is it. Monday motivation, and I'll be doing it again on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So every morning this week, a ramble through the vines, just talking anything to do with the vineyards, to do with the soils, the grape varieties, and those amazing views. Look at that. There we are. So just keep walking down to the bottom of my vineyard. Now I'm going to get back in my Diane car and go and catch up with Jean-Marc. I'm not quite sure what he's up to this morning. He was out early. We're not not quite sure what he's doing. I think he's tying up little vines to the sticks in another vineyard. But just coming down to the bottom of our vineyard here, past the Carignan and the Grenache. So another look here. Whoops. Those of you who've been following, you might even now be able to recognise what grape this is. There you go, there's a leaf to give you a clue. If anybody's got an idea which grape variety out of Carignan or Grenache that might be. It's actually the Carignan. I don't know how long the delay is on this, so you may have answered, but it's Carignan. So those of you who got that right, because it's got 5 distinct lobes on the leaf, and it's got an embossed surface to it. And you can actually see, hey, at the top there, the little bunches of grapes. Can you see those? So these are the bunches of grapes that will form, and they're tiny, tiny at the moment, but they're definitely there. So I think we're past the frost dangers now. I hope we are. It's meant to be until the end of the month for the frost, and then hopefully it's all plain sailing. Or is it ever plain sailing? Plain sailing after that. So here we are, back down to my little Diane waiting for me here, take me back to the winery, and hope you've enjoyed the first weekday vineyard ramble in the vineyards. Please feel free to send me questions, continue to communicate on Insta. I'm here, and I will be back in the vineyard tomorrow morning at 8:30 French time, 7:30 UK time. You can look at me over your breakfast and just dream a little bit about owning vineyards in the south of France. But it's been fantastic to have you with me. Thanks very much, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. Just one last look at the vineyard that needs a bit of a plough now, but it's a bit too wet to actually get into the vineyard just yet. So signing off from Tuchan. Thanks for joining the Vineyard Ramble, and see you all tomorrow.